Hello everyone, and thank you for being so numerous to talk about the value proposition Cribl. What is Cribl? This is what we're going to be talking about today, and how this solution can help optimize your performance and costs related to your security platforms. The agenda for today, if you don't mind showing it, is first and foremost a general introduction of the value proposition that Cribl is, and then we'll talk about technical elements and feedback that we've had with our clients with the demo phase, which we'll give you, and then we'll end with a Q&A session, which would last about 5 minutes. Who are we? First and foremost, hello everyone, I'm Adrien Debush, solutions engineer, pre-sale engineer at Cribl. I worked in cybersecurity and data analysis in the past, and I'm Jean-Christophe Rodriguez, I'm regional sales manager. My role is to develop sales activities in Southern Europe, mainly focused on France, Spain, Italy, Portugal. To explain what Cribl is, what is Cribl? We are a company founded in 2018 by 3 former engineers from Sproint, and they left Sproint to create Cribl to help offer a solution for companies that have to manage more and more data and more and more volumes of data to manage in their tools for observability, but also for cybersecurity. And we've observed, and this is a survey that was done, that the average increase of data in terms of volume is about 28% every year. In an economic reality where IoT budgets are not growing at the same rate, at the same pace. And when we talk about data, we're talking about melt metric, event, trace, tracking, etc. So you have different formats, etc., and a huge volume, and it's difficult to extract the value from this data, but when you're able to extract it, the value is huge and can actually prove critical for a company. And this meant specificity of data has led us to realize that at the end of the chain, we've implemented different analytical chains to come up with different case studies. So we look at SIEM platforms that aim at extracting value from security information and coming out of these logs, but at the end of the chain, you could also have observability platforms and other platforms, time series database, warehouse, when you could do analytics from BI, etc. And the truth is that these platforms, usually most of the time, they arrive with their own pipeline of data management. And to feed into this platform, you have specific agents for these different platforms, and you have a pipeline to manage that is specific to each platform, which leads to a reality, which is that on each platform, you have a volume of data that is increasing. We collect the same data sometimes for different case studies, and the negative result of all of this, negative outcome, is that it has a different impact. First, license costs, because most of these platforms are licensed based on the volume of data that they have to ingest, but it also has an impact on performance. And generally here we're talking about situations where you flood these platforms with a large quantity of data. So a large percentage is actually not used by correlation and dashboard rules that are developed, and it's going to have a negative impact for the performance of these platforms. And it could also have a significant impact on hardware costs inherent to these platforms, which are often used in order for additional storage and also additional infrastructure costs, because of the collection architecture. The goal of Cribl is simple, is to position itself as a data engine that aims at addressing specific needs for the IT and security teams. To put it really simply, the number one objective of Cribl, which is with Cribl Stream, is to be a universal collector that is positioned in the middle, and we use this universal collector to connect different sources of data, regardless of the format. And through this engine, streaming engine, it prepares and formats the data, it passes it, and routes it towards different platforms. And it reduces the noise as well. And again, the goal is to put into place a management pipeline that is unique, that is rationalized, and that allows you to take control over the type of data that you're sending to what kind of platform. If you look at the SIEM case study, the idea here is to, through Cribl to send to the SIEM only data that is strictly necessary for the collaboration rules that have been put into place and potential investigations that we'll need to carry out in the coming weeks and months towards the SIEM platform. But the truth is, there's still this reality. We don't know what we may need in the future. But with this multi-routing possibility of Cribl, we can send filtered data to one SIEM platform or several platforms in parallel, but we can also route a full fidelity copy of these data towards a storage platform, S3 type of data storage system that is low cost. And if we need to launch an investigation on data that we haven't ingested right away, it's possible to use a replay functionality, so to refeed data that haven't been ingested. What's the added value here? Well, it's quite simple. It's to reduce by 30 to 50% the volume of data, useful data that are going to be sent to analytical or observability or SIEM platforms, and to reduce storage costs for regulatory reasons for 12 to 24 months, while relying on low-cost storage platforms at a low cost. Again, you can also use the replay functionality. So to sum it up, you are reducing the giga cost inherent to treatment costs that you're operating on platforms such as SIEM. So for different reasons, because you want to reduce your costs and you want to reduce the volume and therefore reduce the volume cost, the cost thanks to the reduced volume, or you don't want to increase the license of your platform and you're just using Cribl to free up space and to make sure that you feed into the right location, the right and useful information. So that's the first offer, the first solution that we have, that is Cribl. We have something else as well. Could you go back to the previous slide? Cribl. We have this to create a first layer, agnostic layer, that is going to decouple destination sources. So you have this multiple feeding from Cribl, but we can also even streamline further by using Cribl Edge. It's basically the same interface as Cribl, but it's used as a single agent on servers. It's deployed to collect source logs that is centralized from the same graphic interface than the one that you manage on stream. This way, you manage a fleet of agents that could be deployed by hundreds of thousands of them on complex infrastructures to simplify updating, upgrading, and streams that you want to send towards analytical platforms. Cribl is a platform that is extremely flexible in terms of rollout. You can prem rollout with, of course, you have sovereignty rules and they're completely compliant, so fully isolated from Cribl Cloud services. You can also have hybrid deployment. So you have an architecture, which we call the workers, that optimize the logs that are then going to be sent to the different sources. And we can also have SaaS approaches. It depends on the client that you have. So this is for Stream and Edge. Now the portfolio of Cribl solutions goes above and beyond that. Cribl is this universal collector, and on top of that you have Edge, that is your agent. And we also have Cribl Lake. Some clients have solicited us by saying, well, that routing full fidelity logs towards low-cost storage units was interesting, but they didn't want to manage their data lakes, etc. And security teams, they didn't want to be dependent on IT teams to manage their data lakes. So the idea is to use Cribl Lake to make available a lake within a few seconds, within a few clicks, to use it as a storage facility for 12 or 24 months for regulatory reasons. And you can always use replay to fuel the platform that you haven't fed with initially. And to go beyond that, you have regulatory issues for audits, etc., because you're supposed to store data for 12 or 24 months. The only time that you need to use this data is when you have an audit to show that it's accessible and available. So instead of moving it and at a cost, we've deployed Cribl Search that allows you to search on your lake. It could be Cribl or your own lake on-prem or else, on your private cloud. So we're using the rocketing Microsoft language to make a simple search. Yes. And you can have a first level of dashboarding that's very efficient. These are the 4 components of the solution. Now, the ROI, that's interesting and really important. This is a question that we get often when we come into an existing architecture and you add a system Cribl in the middle. Beyond the fact of adding an additional system, what is the impact? That's the question. And here, we're showing the average ROI for the clients that have deployed Cribl is about 177% over a year. Of course, the ROI can happen on different layers. As I said, the reduction that you're able to generate on the volumes, because we're only sending the logs that are useful, and so it reduces the costs of licensing. And you also have, so this accounts for around 35% savings. Then you're saving on storage, especially long-term standard storage towards Cribl, because you're sending it to S3 or Cribl Lake. This accounts for 51% savings compared to regulatory frameworks. And you can also save on hardware. The objective here of Cribl Stream is to actually replace and simplify, streamline the existing infrastructures that were on the Server 6 logs and other solutions used by other SIEMs on the market. And there's also an operations reduction costs, because it's very user-friendly. The graphic interface is really user-friendly, and I'll show it in a minute. Thank you very much. To get into the topic of cybersecurity, which is why we're here today, we'll see how Cribl can help you optimize your SIEM platforms. Almost all the Cribl Stream functionalities can be used with this goal by using different functionalities that Jean-Christophe has mentioned. The routing side part, with your capacity to collect data once and send it towards different destinations. This is really convenient, and I'll talk about it in more depth during migration projects. You can very easily test, benchmark new solutions towards the solution that you've chosen, and it can also be used when you're collecting your data. You collect it once, you send it towards security platforms, observability platforms, storage facility for legal retention. That's quite expensive. You also have optimization. So that means cleaning up data, reducing the size of the events that you're sending towards solutions that are often invoiced on a volume basis. So you can optimize differently. You can lose information. You can not lose information. It really depends on how much optimization you want. Shaping, so transformation, simply allows you to send the right data, especially in the right format, into solutions, which are sometimes very rigid on the format that they're waiting for, that they're expecting. This is useful for migration projects. With already existing tools, the data sources are often set up with an expected format by the existing format. But what about the other solutions that we're testing in benchmark phase, or when we're rolling out another solution? So here we're able to transform events into the right format, into the format that is expected by the different destinations of data. Now, collection, we'll see it in the demonstration. We are supporting a lot of different protocols. We are an agnostic collector. 6log, NetFlow, Trappist, NP. We can use APIs to make queries into search engines. With Edge, we're often deployed to collect information from containerized environments such as Unities. Cribl Search for analysis, and legal archiving. So that adds to routing, sending data towards low-cost storage systems and a capacity to access this data very easily. So if we take a step back with a more visual approach, the main levers to optimize your security platforms, you could think that the main lever is optimizing the data sent to the SIEM, but the main lever and the main function that allows you to save money is the routing of data that are not going to be sent to the SIEM. So they're sent to object storage, could be cloud or even on a compressed file system. Data that is usually not modified, so it keeps its value. With the search and replay functionality that's part of Stream, you have the capacity here to pick and choose within this stored data to either use it, access the data that you're looking for within Cribl Stream, or send it to any other destination. And this way of working, of on-demand research and a refueling destination, can work really well with tools such as SOAR, because everything we do within Cribl Stream through the graphic interface, we could also do it through APIs, and this is something that is often deployed in the SOC world within SOAR. So if analysts need additional information for an investigation for forensic analysis, then they have a playbook to make queries to Cribl Stream and access data that they won't necessarily have access to otherwise. So that is the main optimization lever. And the second one would be to say that the data that you're sending towards your security platform are going to be optimized. And with the different ways of optimizing your data, sampling, cleaning up, filtering, useless information reduction, etc., etc. Now, if we look at the previous graph in a Sentinel Microsoft environment, Microsoft Sentinel has recently, now it's not open to the public, it's only on preview, but it gives access to the storage solution. Now the optimization levers are more advanced. With on the right hand side, 2/3 of data storage within Sentinel. On the top right is tier 1. It's been existing since the beginning, and the second one underneath is auxiliary. It's more recent, still in preview mode, and it's much cheaper than analytics. Now, it does not offer the same capacity for analysis, but it allows you with Cribl Stream to send data and the relevant data to detection scenarios and correlation scenarios to tier 1, which is the most costly, to be perfectly transparent, and then the information that you need to qualify incidents then are sent to the auxiliary line, and raw data to LASIX Data Explorer or Blob, so Azure Object Storage, or if you're looking for an agnostic solution, you could send it into your Cribl lake, which could be interesting if you're in a multi-cloud environment, to have access to your data from AWS, Azure, etc. So the hyperscalers where you have workloads, you send it to your Cribl lake, and no matter what happens from Cribl Search, you'll always have the possibility to search within your Cribl lake, but also ADX, because if you want to remain in a Microsoft environment, Cribl Search, as mentioned by Jean-Christophe, is the federated search tool that allows you to access data wherever it is, be it in the cloud or not. And this way you have a reset. Threat hunting, for instance, if you're looking for an IOC, you don't know if it's on the AWS environment, Azure, OpenSearch, because we could also have OpenSearch, Elasticsearch, to aggregate different support equipment of data management. It's really, really convenient during hunting or deep forensic analysis. So I focus on the Sentinel part, for those of you who know it. So what are our clients doing with Cribl? Because that's great, I've showed you the theoretical part. Now let's take a look at the concrete examples that what our clients are doing through anonymized examples. This is an example of a client who had an analysis solution based on volume. And they wanted to reduce the license related to this analysis tool to make room into the budget to offer a managed SOC solution.
Donc là, on a
So we treated the two main sources of data, getting into to checkpoint. The figures that you see there is without any loss of information. It's just data optimization. So checkpoint, we've got more than 50%. Windows logs also. So this customer reduced by 40% his license of multiple analysis, and he had then the budget to have a SOC managed service offer, including the cost of Cribl stream. It's not reduction for reduction's sake. Otherwise, he would have had to do away with it. So either he got a solution that is a cheaper one, or we managed to get him to stay within his budget to be able to keep the proper solution. A customer on the other side of the ocean, Circle Case, it's retail and gas stations in North America. Analysis solution based on the volume of data, where thanks to ready-to-use content, we've got pack for optimization rules for some data and for some destinations. So by using these packs, it's reached a reduction of 66% of the Windows logs and 40% of the log firewalls. I mean, there are some technologies which are quite relevant for that use. Other source of data, the identification events and performance events, they are personalized logics of optimization put in place with interesting results, especially for the reduction of performance logs. We reach 90%, and that's because with Cribl stream we can transform log into metrics, which is much more efficient for the information transport. It's also an invoice per volume. One of the benefits was the reduction of storage used for the retention to going down to less than 2 teraoctets. Savings, greater agility also. It might sound complicated what we're saying, but I mean the interface is really well designed. Everything is here to make your life easier, so the teams who want to add sources of data can do that much faster. And point 3 and 4 is the impact on the data, on the analysis solution. Less data or better formatted data for the solution means speedy research time, a quicker answer time, so much greater flexibility for the people who use that solution. Another example, Sentinel, a customer with a license of 3 teraoctet per day and 1 of log firewall checkpoint. The purpose there was to optimize checkpoint events to be sent to Sentinel, and that was the optimization and the routing. A part of the events only was useful for the detection staff. The events that weren't useful for detection but were useful for the incident management is tier 3. And compliance and conformity are applicative data like Oracle database, multi-line audit data that was sent to Azure Analytics. So for this customer, when we defined the POC part, we did an ROI exercise on the checkpoint data source based on public prices, both for Cribl and Microsoft, and the difference of TCO as far as the injection costs are concerned, without Cribl on the left and with Cribl on the right, where without Cribl, with the Microsoft tools to send the events to Sentinel Analytics. The agent routing towards auxiliary is not available yet, so with a total cost of $1.7 million per year, and with Cribl, we're not at 1 teraoctet to Sentinel, we're at 600 gigaoctet sent by Sentinel we've been able to reduce by 30% the volume of data optimization and the routing, where 30% of these 600 giga are sent to tier 1 and 70% to auxiliary. So if we add the injection cost on the right of the part, the analytics auxiliary part, the cost of Cribl stream in itself, and the retention, the legal retention part, it's not 1.7 million, it's public price 400K per year. But the client doesn't pay that, but the ratio remains basically the same. So Cribl in this case is self-financing itself. One final example in the elastic world, retail, sell and beauty, using elastic SIEM as a cybersecurity platform, where the project there was to replace the Colexis load by Cribl agent Cribl stream, which helped them to reduce the ingestion volume of 41%, dividing by 2 the necessary infrastructure to get the collect and the SIEM working, which is certainly not negligible. As far as the storage, the infrastructure, the storage hasn't changed, but as they kept the storage they had, it went to a retention period from 7 days to 45 days. Greater agility, easier to ingest new data sources, so the security teams spend more time dealing with security rather than dealing with the data. If new parameters have got to be covered by the security team. Shaping or transformation next. The idea there was to transform, to implement the parsing within stream for the endgame elements, the endpoint security solution, to comply with the ECS format, thus done in stream directly, to be able to use the default content of Elasticseam. The common information model would be the equivalent, and that we could use in stream to use the full content of Elasticseam. Another topic before the demonstration, for which we have a lot of clients starting with Cribl, the migration projects. It's a very simplified version. When we've got a migration project, we've got data sources, we've got one existing SIEM and one collection architecture, which stick with the solution. The intermediate collectors are linked to the existing solution. So the first step here is to position Cribl stream between the sources and the existing collection layer. And Cribl stream can do lots of things with the data, and the data can be transferred without doing anything with them. But deploying Cribl stream beforehand, we can send the data without any impact on the existing SIEM solution, and by doing that we have a visibility which is an exhaustive one as to which sources transfer the greatest number of data, which is the volume of data per day, per hour, generated by each of the sources, or the number of events per second. it's very difficult to see that straight from a SIEM solution. And then we can also realize that there are some collection problems. When we deployed Cribl Stream at one of our customers, we realized that we lost logs, and this was not reliable. 10% of the packs were lost, so they lost 10% of the firewall log because of the UDP transport logs, and it's rolling at stream that we realized that there were these problems. We have a monitoring part with indicators also to check whether there are mistakes or sources no longer sending data. So we've got a greater visibility, which gives us the possibility to bid with the metrics of licenses required. Once we've got Stream rolled out upstream of the existing chain, I mean, it's going to be very much easier to test the benchmark phase, testing several SIEM solutions, because we've got to decide what we send to the SIEM being tested, with which format, and test the ready to use element also. So it speeds up the benchmark phase, and it helps you to compare the different SIEM solutions as to their ability to detect the threats and not their capacity to collect data, to give you easy to use tools to transfer the data. That's going to be done by Cribl Stream. Finally, last step is the migration phase. I mean, once the future solution is chosen, as all the data go through a Cribl Stream, then after that it's very easy to add, to route as additional data sources towards the new SIEM optimized data. And you can't see it here, but the routing of object storage, which helps reducing the cost in a drastic manner. So the way of doing that helps you reduce the duration of the double run, and that speeds up the migration process, and it reduces the risks also. Some customers had complex migration projects, 3 SIEMs that had to concentrate onto just one. So the migration tests that were done by different suppliers covered 18 months, but and we helped them to go from 18 months to 8 months now. This is a reality on the field. What does Cribl Stream look like? Let me go the other side of the table to show you a short demonstration. We've got 5 minutes left. Have we got time for the demonstration then? You can also join us if you want to see us in the on the ground floor level. Okay, this is the interface of Cribl Stream. As Jean-Christophe said, Cribl Stream can be rolled out in cloud, hybrid mode, etc. And everything can be configured. We can call APIs, and the full configuration is traced with the control of which version you're on. Everything is monitored, and it's very easy to go back. It's based on Git. So the central concept is to connect data sources with destinations. The list of sources that we support is a very long one, so I'm not going to present them to you all. A key point is that we support the Splunk protocol. That means that we can get Splunk as a binary. We can get that from Splunk agencies, CSS log, open telemetry, NetFlow, etc. I operate a source log. Data are sent to Cribl stream, and then I can capture in real time or see in real time what is coming. I said capture because you can save that as a sample, which is going to be our working base when we're going to want to proceed to some transformation, anonymization. We're going to be able to work on actual data on this sample that will have been caught from this data or that we've uploaded in the interface. Sources, destinations, the list again is very long as far as the destinations are concerned. I'm not going to detail that because I'm running out of time. And when I connect my source with my destination, I've used the default destination, which is a black hole, which gives you the possibility to do lots of tests without sending data outside. So either I don't do anything with the data, or I use a transformation pipeline, or I use a pack. The packs are the configuration containers, objects which are available on our website. I mean, it's configuration out of the box, predefined, and you've also got the possibility yourself to create your own packs, configuration containers that you can use again. An example before giving the floor to Jean-Christophe again. The pack Palo Alto network, I mean, all the packs are accessible to the public on pack.cribl.io. It's predefined configuration for the sources, which are the most common ones, and the destination, the most common ones too. So this one uses a system of routing which direct the Palo Alto element to different pipelines of optimization depending on the type of event. If it's a traffic one, then we'll use a traffic pipeline. So a pipeline is a sum total of different functionalities to add fields, to enrich the data, to can use geolocalization, you can do drops. This benefit is the visual aspect. I mean, you can select a sample that I collected previously, and you can see the result of the application of this pipeline on my events with color coding, which helps you to identify the fields that got deleted, added, modified. So the logic activated by default of this pipeline, because you can see that some functions got deactivated, is to clean the Palo Alto events, cancelling the random dub time stop in the log. So we extract it once and we cancel the redundant one. So that makes us save some octets and all combined. I mean, it's quite a fair bit, whilst maintaining the standard format. So it's just cleaning up process, and we can measure this cleaning up process based on the sample here. The output data compared to input, we have cleared 9% of the data on the traffic Palo Alto events. We're going to stop there. If you want to have a more thorough demo, you can come and see us in booth 5G. The company Cribl, we're not at the startup phase. 1,400 clients, 800 staff throughout the world. We've got all size types of customers, 600 million fundraising, 300 million last summer with a famous investor in Cribl. What else? The key. We are part of the 4 faster companies from 1 million to 5 million in less than 4 years, and it took us less than 12 months to double our sales. It shows the interest that the market shows and how receptive the customers are. One important point which seems key for me, besides customer references that you can see here, one of the leitmotif of our CEO is to make sure that the Cribl solution is easily accessible to the larger number. So anybody client partner can be trained and become certified. You will have access to all the certifications and all the solutions. If you join this Cribl University, you have a sandbox, and you can then download all the solutions with. We are in a standalone server, but you've got access to all the transformation facilities. So it's a true determination that our CEO has about this university. The sandboxes give you the possibility to test some usage cases. So as a tutor, if you want to see how Cribl stream work, you can be guided, and then you can test by yourself with versions that you download and that you can use as you want. A customer was asked to roll out a Cribl to replace a pipeline. For 3 years there were functionalities and they couldn't stabilize the Kafka pipeline, and with the Cribl doc, they created a POC, and they did it by themselves. In terms of user friendliness and the possibility to be autonomous when using Cribl, I mean, it's quite interesting. Questions?
Off mic.
Oui.
Off mic. The interpreter cannot hear the question.
Oui. Alors, je vais reformuler pour les personnes qui sont peut-être en ligne.
For those of you who are following us remotely, the question was about the performance and how are we impacting the performance and improving the performance. Well, it's about avoiding polluting analytical platforms with useless data. If only 40% of SIEM of the data used by SIEM platform, you avoid polluting it with data that is not useful in correlation rules. So it can have a high impact on the hardware cost, but also on the performance in terms of queries and searches and detection as well.
Et la capacité de détection.
Detection capacity is also the level of performance is also is that with the same volume, same license, you can reduce the noise and improve the detection because you're feeding the system with more useful data.